close your eyes for a second and think about that specific frequency. The one that feels like a needle against your eardrum while everyone else in the room is smiling, oblivious, and soaking in the chaos. You're standing there, and while the people around you seem to be vibrating with the energy of the music or the roar of the crowd, for you, that same energy feels like a physical weight pressing against your chest. It's not just noise to you, it's an intrusion. Maybe it's the muffled thump of a neighbor's bass vibrating through the wall, or the sharp, repetitive tinny sound of a TV left on in the next room that feels like it's drilling a hole into your focus. You look around and wonder how no one else is flinching, how they can just filter it out, while you are sitting there, heart racing, feeling every single wave of sound as if it were a touch you didn't ask for. You've probably been told you're just being difficult, or that you're too sensitive and need to lighten up. But what if I told you that your irritation isn't a choice or a bad mood? It is a literal, biological response to how your nervous system is wired to perceive the world. If you've ever felt like the only person in a room fighting an invisible battle against the air itself, comment the word peace below and subscribe, because we're diving deep into the mechanics of your mind today. You're about to discover why your brain seems to have forgotten the one essential filter that keeps most people sane, and what happens to your body when that filter disappears. Picture the scene you know all too well. The front door finally clicks shut behind you, and for the first time in 10 hours, the world stops demanding things from you. You drop your keys on the table with a metallic ring that signals the start of your sanctuary quest, kicking off your shoes and letting out that long, jagged sigh you've been holding since your first meeting this morning. You change into something soft, sit on the sofa, and finally, you can hear your own thoughts again. Your internal battery is at zero, and this silence is the only charger that works. But then, just as your muscles begin to unclench, it happens. It's not a loud crash or a scream, it's something far more insidious. Maybe it's the muffled, rhythmic drone of a neighbor's conversation through the vents, or a distant, persistent siren that refuses to fade away. Suddenly, the peace you just found feels fragile, paper-thin. You try to ignore it, you tell yourself to just relax, but your brain does the exact opposite. It locks on to the sound like a heat-seeking missile. You start to spiral into a familiar, painful internal monologue. Why is this bothering me so much? Why can't I just be normal and let it go like everyone else? You're sitting perfectly still, yet your heart is starting to race as if you're being hunted. You are now in a state of hypervigilance, waiting for the next beat, the next word, the next vibration to violate your space. What you don't realize yet is that this isn't a failure of your willpower. It's a physical takeover of your nervous system that is about to change the way you see your own personality forever. For years, society has probably handed you a list of labels to explain your reaction to the world: difficult, grumpy, or antisocial. But it's time to dismantle the idea that your need for quiet is a flaw in your character. It is actually a specific biological processing style. In psychology, this is known as sensory processing sensitivity, and it changes everything about how you perceive reality. Think of the human brain as having a gating mechanism, a neurological velvet rope managed by a very picky bouncer. For most people, that bouncer is elite. It filters out the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic, and the neighbor's TV, labeling them as irrelevant so they never even reach the person's conscious mind. But if you are a deep processor, your bouncer is effectively on permanent break. Every single sound, no matter how small or distant, is granted VIP access to your primary consciousness, forced to be processed as high-priority information. While high sensation seekers actually need that external noise and chaos to feel awake or alive, your brain is already working at maximum capacity just by existing in a room. You aren't choosing to be annoyed, your brain is simply incapable of ignoring what others don't even notice. And because your brain is forced to treat every single vibration as a critical update, your body starts to pay a price that is much more physical and much more dangerous than just a bit of temporary irritation. When your brain loses that filter, the consequences aren't just mental, they are deeply biological. For a sensitive system, an intrusive sound isn't just a minor nuisance. Your body interprets it as a threat signal, triggering your nervous system to react as if you're facing a literal danger. Every time the neighbor's music thumps or a door slams, your body releases microdoses of cortisol and adrenaline, keeping your heart rate elevated and your muscles tense. This is why you might find yourself snapping at a loved one during dinner or feeling a wave of unexplained rage over a simple question. It's not that you're a mean person, it's noise fatigue. Your brain has spent the entire day in a state of high alert, burning through its energy reserves just to process background sounds that other people don't even hear. This exhaustion follows you into the bedroom, creating a cruel paradox. You can lie in bed for 8 hours, but if there is any noise around you, your brain never enters deep, restorative sleep. It stays on guard, monitoring the street noise and the hum of the house instead of resting, meaning you wake up feeling just as drained as when you laid down. You are essentially running a marathon while standing still, and this constant drain on your spirit is leading to a social cost that most people would find impossible to pay. But here is the truth that the loud world often misses. Your desperate need for silence is actually a byproduct of a high-definition internal life. You don't just hear more, you process more, connecting ideas, feeling subtle emotional shifts, and noticing patterns that others are simply too distracted to see. This isn't a defect, it's the engine of your creativity and your deep empathy. However, this gift comes with a staggering social price. You likely spend hours masking, performing a version of yourself that looks comfortable at loud gatherings or in chaotic open offices. On the outside, you're smiling and nodding, but on the inside, you are screaming for a quiet corner just to catch your breath. This leads to a bone-deep masking fatigue that leaves you physically and mentally shattered. When you choose to stay home, it's rarely because you hate people, it's because you're choosing to love your own sanity. You are protecting your peace from a world that refuses to lower its volume. Yet, even with this understanding, you cannot live in a vacuum forever. The world will always be noisy, and if you don't find a way to navigate that chaos, you risk becoming a prisoner of your own sensitivity, unless you know how to build a toolkit that actually works. So how do you reclaim your life in a world that won't stop shouting? It starts with a shift in perspective. Stop treating silence as a luxury and start treating it as neurological medicine. You need to perform a sensory audit of your own life. Identify the sacred windows like the stillness of the early morning or the late night calm, and protect those hours as if your sanity depends on them, because it does. When the noise is unavoidable, equip yourself with real tools. Noise-canceling headphones aren't a luxury item, they are a survival kit. But the most powerful tool you have is your voice. Stop making excuses and start using the phrase, "I'm at my sensory limit." It's a complete sentence, a neutral explanation that requires no guilt and no further apology. Always remember that needing a quiet world to function doesn't mean you're broken or boring. It means you are a high-precision instrument living in a world built for blunt objects. You deserve to exist without being in a constant state of alarm. If this resonated with you, share this video with that one friend who always calls you antisocial so they can finally see what's happening behind your eyes. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into how your mind truly works. Until next time, take a deep breath, find your quiet corner, and remember, your silence is your strength.